Welcome to Living Your Senior Life, the podcast where we explore practical tips and strategies to help you live your best life. We're Mark and Debbie, and we're here to share information that empowers you to stay active, independent, and confident as you age. Today, we're tackling a topic that doesn't get nearly enough honest conversation: aging without children. Whether you chose not to have children, circumstances led you down this path, or infertility made the decision for you, aging without adult children comes with unique challenges and unique freedoms. But here's what we don't talk about enough: the grief that can accompany this journey. As I was reviewing the original blog post on this topic, it came to my attention that it was missing something important: acknowledging the very real loss that people experience, even if they chose to be childless. The grief can be intense and may even resurface or intensify as we age, triggered by life events like friends becoming grandparents or family milestones we won't experience. Before we can talk about solutions and strategies, we need to validate that grief. We need to acknowledge that this loss is real and genuine, and it deserves to be honored. So today we're going to explore both sides of this experience: the emotional realities and the practical strategies. We'll talk about grief and loneliness, yes, but also about building strong communities, planning for the future, and the very real triumphs that many childless seniors experience. Whether you're navigating this journey yourself or you love someone who is, I hope this conversation helps you feel seen, validated, and empowered. Let's dive in.
You know, this very specific image that tends to pop into our heads when we think about old age.
Oh, yeah. The Hallmark movie version.
Totally. You're sitting on a porch, maybe there's a blanket on your lap, sun's going down, and you're just surrounded by this chaotic but loving swarm of grandkids and your adult kids.
Right. It's the default ending. It's the end of the life script we all assume is coming.
But what happens when you just delete that whole scene?
Exactly. You take away the grandkids, you take away the daughter who comes over to fix the Wi-Fi or, stock the fridge. And for a lot of people, the picture just goes blank. They panic.
Yeah, they assume the screen goes black.
Right.
It feels like we look at this whole topic through such a binary lens. You've got the ultimate freedom narrative on one side.
The cool, globe-trotting aunt or uncle.
Exactly. Spending their pension on martinis, answering to no one. And on the other side, it's just this tragedy, a sentence to complete crushing isolation.
But looking at the research we've got in front of us,
Yeah.
neither of those is really the whole story, is it?
Not at all.
No. I mean, it's rarely a tragedy, but it is definitely not a carefree, endless vacation. It's a logistical puzzle, a huge one. And it's one that a massive chunk of the population is going to have to solve, whether they see it coming or not.
And that right there is the why. For today's deep dive, we're talking about aging without children, or AWC. And look, before anyone tunes out thinking, well, I have kids, so this isn't for me, or I'm only 30, this is just depressing.
Hang on.
Yeah, this is for everyone.
The numbers are just staggering. Pew Research shows that about 1 in 5 adults over 50 in the U.S. have never had children.
1 in 5. That's 20% of that entire demographic. That's not a niche group. That's a massive shift in the social fabric.
It is.
And you've got a few things coming together, right? Declining birth rates, sure, but also longevity. We're just living so much longer now. So even if you have kids, there's no guarantee they'll be physically able or live nearby or even be financially able to help you when you're 95.
So that default safety net, the one we've all relied on for centuries, it's just full of holes. Precisely. So the mission for today isn't to scare you, though. Some of this is pretty sobering. It's really to look at the unique emotional landscape here, the very real, hard-nosed logistical hurdles.
Like who actually makes the call when you're in the ER?
Exactly that. And then finally, the triumphs. Because this is actually a huge opportunity to design a life that is so much more intentional than the default.
I really like that word, intentional. It feels active, not passive. So, okay, let me get into the emotional side first. I went into this research kind of expecting it all to be about regret versus relief. But the sources talk about something, well, more subtle, this idea of a hidden grief that can pop up way, way later than you'd expect.
It's this sleeper effect. You see, we often assume that if someone is voluntarily childless, they chose a career or travel or just didn't have that parental urge, that they're somehow immune to that feeling of loss.
Right. You made your bed, so you must be happy in it.
But the research shows that grief is often dormant. You could be totally fulfilled in your 40s and 50s. You've got money, time, freedom. You're living your best life.
And then retirement hits.
Yeah. Or your health changes. Or the really big trigger, your peer group shifts. Suddenly, Every dinner party, every social get-together, it's all centered on the grandkids.
Oh, the exclusion factor. You're just sitting there, and you literally can't participate in the main currency of the conversation. It's not even about wanting the kids yourself. It's about losing that connection with your peers.
Exactly. And the sources highlight a really important validation here. It's what psychologists call disenfranchised grief. Society doesn't really give you permission to mourn a choice you made for yourself.
I see.
But you can be deeply grateful for your freedom, for the life you built, and at the same time, mourn the road not taken. It's not a contradiction. It's just human complexity.
That distinction between voluntary and involuntary childlessness is interesting, too. I mean, obviously, someone who went through infertility has a very different kind of scar than someone who just said, no thanks.
For sure. But the research suggests that as people get older, those lines really start to blur.
They converge.
They do. By the time you hit 75 or 80, the why matters a lot less than the now. Whether you couldn't have kids or didn't want them, you're facing the exact same question. Who's going to help me navigate the world?
But the societal judgment, that's where it's still pretty different for men and women, right?
Oh, absolutely. I was hoping we'd get to this.
Yeah, it feels like the whole crazy cat lady trope is unfortunately alive and well.
It is hardwired into our culture.
Yeah.
For women, the judgment is loud. It's external. Society tends to view motherhood as a primary function, so aging without it can be seen as, well, incomplete.
People feel sorry for you or they assume you were selfish.
Exactly. And then you have the emotional labor gap.
Okay, define that for us in this context. We hear about it in marriage, but how does it apply here?
Well, women are generally socialized to do the work of maintaining social networks, right? Remembering the birthdays, organizing get-togethers, checking in on sick friends. When they age without kids, they can really feel the silence of that effort not being returned to them. They've paid into the system for decades, but the traditional family structure isn't there to give back.
Okay, so women get the judgment and the silence. What about the men? Because that bachelor archetype, the silver fox, he seems to age better in pop culture.
Superficially, yeah. Men definitely escape that overt judgment. No one calls a single older man a cat gentleman as an insult, but the data suggests they're in much more danger.
Danger how?
Isolation, just sheer isolation. A man's social network is often tied to two things, his job and his spouse.
Okay.
So when they retire, they lose the work network. If they lose their spouse, or if they've always been single, they often have, well, zero support infrastructure. They just haven't been socialized to build and maintain those safety nets for themselves.
Because they haven't been doing that emotional labor all along.
Exactly. And they're statistically far less likely to seek counseling or even just admit they're lonely. So you get this quiet isolation, which is basically a health crisis waiting to happen. The mortality risk of loneliness is comparable to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Wow. That is a heavy backdrop. So you've got women fighting stigma, men fighting silence. I want to pivot now to the logistics. Because feelings are one thing, but the practical side of this is where the rubber really meets the road. There was a concept in the reading that it really stuck with me. The history keeper.
It's a haunting phrase, isn't it?
It really is. Can you unpack what that actually means? It sounds like it's more than just, I have nobody to talk to.
Oh, it's so much deeper than loneliness. A history keeper is someone who has known you since the beginning. Someone who knows why you hate the smell of lavender because of some silly incident in 1982.
Right, or remembers that road trip where the car broke down.
Yes. When you have children, you pass the baton of your personal history to them. They become the repository of your stories.
And without them,
when your peers and maybe your partner are gone, you risk becoming the only person on earth who knows your own story. You lose the validation of your own past.
That's existential loneliness. It's not just being alone in a room, it's being alone in your own timeline. That gave me chills.
It should. And that psychological weight just makes the practical stuff that much harder. Which brings us to the caregiving gap.
Right. Now, I think most people's first thought is, I'll just hire a nurse if I get sick. I have savings. Problem solved.
If only it were that simple.
But the research suggests it's way more complicated than just hiring medical staff.
So much more. Think about a standard hospital visit. It's not just about the procedure, it's about the advocate. Who's the person driving you there? Who's sitting in that uncomfortable chair listening to the doctor while you're still groggy?
Who's asking, wait, does this new pill interact with her heart medication?
Or why hasn't a nurse been in for 4 hours? You need a bulldog in the room with you.
A bulldog, I like that.
We need a bulldog. And if you don't have an adult child to instinctively step into that role, you are statistically more vulnerable to medical errors, to longer recovery times. You can't just hire a visitor. You need someone with authority and context.
And this all bleeds into the financial side, right? Because we complain about how expensive kids are to raise, but we totally forget what they provide for free later on.
Hidden economy of the family. It's
Yeah.
massive. Adult children provide billions of dollars in unpaid labor every year. Transportation, home maintenance, tech support.
Fighting with the insurance company.
Fighting with the insurance company.
Yeah.
If you're aging without children, you have to replace all of that free labor with paid labor.
So the financial planning advice isn't just save for retirement, it's save for an entire infrastructure.
You're not saving to leave an inheritance. You are saving to fund your own support team. You literally need a line item in your budget for person to argue with the cable company or person to clean the gutters. It's a completely different financial mindset.
That's a perfect segue to the strategy then. We've laid out the risks, the doom and gloom. Let's talk about how you solve this puzzle. The material calls it social engineering, which honestly sounds a little cold.
It does sound cold, but it's really just deliberate. It means when you don't have the default family setting, you have to build your own custom dashboard. Social engineering just means looking at your friendships functionally.
Functionally, that sounds even colder.
I know, but think about it. If all of your friends are your age, what happens in 20 years?
We all fall apart at the same time.
Exactly. You're all needing hip replacements in the same year. You're all losing your ability to drive around the same time. So the research suggests you need to build intergenerational friendships. You have to actively cultivate relationships with people 10, 20, 30 years younger than you.
It's a trade-off, right? You offer mentorship, wisdom, maybe career advice, and they offer a fresh perspective, and yeah, maybe help moving a heavy box or driving you somewhere at night.
It's symbiotic. But you also need your peer friendships for the shared memories, the people who get your cultural references, and activity-based friendships just to get you out of the house regularly. The key is diversity. You can't rely on one person or one type of person.
Okay, let's get to the scary paperwork. The big three. Everyone knows they need a will, but the sources were basically screaming about the other two, power of attorney and the healthcare proxy. Why is the proxy so particularly tricky for this group?
Because the stakes are just so much higher. A healthcare proxy is the person who makes life or death decisions for you when you can't speak. If you have kids, the state usually defaults to them. It can be messy, but there's a hierarchy. If you don't have kids and you haven't named anyone, it's a legal disaster. You could literally become a ward of the state.
And the advice here was so specific. Don't just pick your best friend.
Right. Your best friend might love you too much to make the hard call. Or they might just panic in a crisis. Or they might be the same age as you and dealing with their own health issues. You have to pick someone who aligns with your values. Someone who understands what quality of life means to you and is tough enough to enforce it, even if it hurts them.
And what if you don't have that person? What if you really are that isolated, or you just don't want to burden a friend with that kind of weight?
Then you have to pay for it. And this is where professional fiduciaries come in.
That's a term we need to define. It sounds like something from a banking textbook.
It does, but it's a crucial role. It's a licensed professional, not a lawyer usually, but a trustee, who you hire to act in your best interest. They can manage your money, pay your bills, and even make medical decisions based on the instructions you've laid out. It costs money, but it protects you from elder abuse, negligence, and just the chaos of having no one in charge.
So it's like hiring a surrogate son or daughter, but just for the legal and admin stuff.
In a legal sense, yes. It's a guarantee that someone is watching the shop.
I also want to talk about some of the housing innovations mentioned, because nursing home is the phrase everyone dreads. But there are these really cool concepts popping up like villages and time banks.
Villages are fantastic. The idea started in Boston. Basically, a neighborhood decides to organize. You pay a membership fee, maybe a few $100s a year, and that money funds a central coordinator who vets volunteers and service providers.
So if you need a ride to the doctor,
You call the village, need a plumber who won't rip you off, call the village. It's like crowdsourcing a family. It takes the burden off any single friend.
and lets people age in place in their own homes for much longer.
For much longer, yeah. It formalizes the kind of community support that used to just happen naturally.
Okay, and time banks. That one sounded a little more barter system.
It's basically formalized neighborliness. Let's say you're a retired accountant. You spend 2 hours helping a neighbor with their tax return. You earn 2 time credits. Later, when you need someone to rake your leaves or drive you to the grocery store, you spend those credits.
I love that. It creates value out of skills everyone already has.
Exactly. It creates this web of mutual reliance that isn't based on money or blood. It's based on contribution. You're not a burden. You are a contributing member.
It feels like a return to how communities used to function, just with a modern app or a spreadsheet behind it.
Totally. And that leads right into co-housing. These intentional communities where everyone has their own private home, but there are shared common spaces and an explicit agreement to look out for one another. It fights isolation by design.
So, okay, we've rebuilt the legal safety net. We've engineered the social circle. Let's talk about the payoff, the triumphs.
Yeah.
Because the research was so adamant that this isn't some consolation prize. This isn't just making do.
No, it's a legitimate, powerful way to live.
Yeah.
This is where we talk about intentional aging. When you strip away the default script, you get to write your own. And one of the most beautiful concepts that comes out of that is the chosen family.
We hear that term a lot in the LGBTQ plus community.
We do. And for the exact same reason. When your biological family isn't your safety net, you build one. And the research suggests these bonds can actually be stronger than biological ones.
Stronger. How? That seems so counterintuitive. I mean, blood is thicker than water, right?
And blood also comes with obligation. If your daughter visits you, you might wonder, is she here because she wants to be or because she feels guilty?
Is she checking her watch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if your chosen family shows up, without a doubt, they want to be there. There's no biological mandate. It is an active, daily choice to be in each other's lives. And that eliminates a lot of the resentment that can plague traditional families.
That makes so much sense. It's pure connection. And then there's the freedom aspect. It's not just about vacations. It's about self-investment.
Right. Without the pressure of leaving a legacy, I have to leave the house to the kids, I have to save for the grandkids' college. You can use your resources on yourself. You can reinvent yourself at 70. Start a business, learn a language. But what's interesting is many don't just spend it on themselves, they turn outward.
The contribution factor.
Yes. Childless seniors often become the super volunteers. They effectively parent their community. They're the ones running the libraries, the civic boards, the mentorship programs. They direct that nurturing instinct toward the world, not just a single household. It's a massive, often unrecognized benefit to society.
Here's the most provocative point I found in all the notes. The expert take that, ironically, people without children might actually be better prepared for aging than people with them.
It sounds completely backward, doesn't it?
It does.
But think about the complacency trap. Parents often just sleepwalk into old age. They think, oh, my son will handle the finances, or I'll just move into their in-law suite eventually. They don't make a plan because they assume the safety net is just built in.
But the son might move to Tokyo, or he might be broke, or he might have his own health crisis, or honestly, you might just not get along that well with him.
Precisely. The assumption breeds inaction. The childless senior knows on a visceral level that there is no backup plan. Cavalry isn't coming. So they build the fortress themselves. They sign the papers, they organize the finances, they build the friendships. Fear is a very effective motivator for good planning.
So the disadvantage actually forces a higher level of resilience.
It forces you to be the architect of your own life, right to the very end. You can't just be a passenger.
That is a powerful way to flip it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just recap the blueprint we've uncovered here.
Okay, so you've got the emotional work, acknowledging that hidden grief without letting it define you. You have to find that medical bulldog, that advocate who isn't afraid to speak up for you. And the legal big three, making sure your proxy shares your values.
And the social engineering part. Don't wait for friends, recruit them, make them intergenerational, diverse, functional, and really look into those structural solutions like villages or co-housing.
But the real secret, I think, lies in how you apply all this.
What do you mean by that?
Well, everything we just discussed. Building a village, securing clear legal proxies, finding purpose outside your own home. None of that should be exclusive to people without kids.
Oh, right. If you have 4 kids, you should still be doing all of this.
Exactly. Relying on just 1 or 2 people, your children, for your entire emotional, physical, and financial well-being is an incredibly fragile strategy. It puts way too much pressure on them, and it leaves you totally vulnerable if life throws a curveball. Intentional aging is the blueprint for everyone.
It's like, if you have kids, great, they can be part of your village. But they shouldn't be the whole village.
Spot on. A resilient life is a diversified life. You need a portfolio of support, not just a single stock.
I want to leave our listener with one last thought that really struck me here. We spend so much energy wringing our hands about the decline of the traditional nuclear family. Oh no, birth rates are dropping, who will care for the elderly? It's treated like a crisis.
It is.
But maybe that panic is blinding us to a huge opportunity.
And what's the opportunity?
If we stop assuming that family is the only legitimate safety net, what could we build instead? If we just admitted that we all need help, parents and non-parents alike, could we build community structures that are actually stronger and more resilient than blood?
That's the big question, isn't it? Moving from who will take care of me to how do we take care of each other? If we solve that, we solve it for everyone. The childless, the parents, single people, everybody.
So maybe aging without children isn't an anomaly to be feared. Maybe it's the pioneer group, showing the rest of us what the future of community really ought to look like.
I think that's a really hopeful place to land.
Thanks for diving deep with us. Now go check your healthcare proxy, call a friend who's 20 years younger than you, even if it feels awkward, and we'll catch you on the next one.
As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this. Aging without children is a complex experience, and it deserves to be honored in all its dimensions. The grief, the challenges, the freedom, and the triumphs all belong. If you're navigating this journey, please know that your feelings are valid. The grief you may feel doesn't diminish the richness of your life. It's simply part of the full human experience of aging. And any loneliness you experience doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're human, and you deserve connection and support. Whether your childlessness came by choice, circumstance, or loss, you are not alone. Millions of people are aging without children, and many are finding meaningful ways to build community, create fulfilling lives, and plan thoughtfully for the future. I encourage you to take what resonates from today's conversation and leave what doesn't. Maybe that means seeking out a therapist who understands this kind of grief. Maybe it's being more intentional about building your support network. Or maybe it's simply giving yourself permission to feel what you feel without judgment. If you found this episode helpful, please consider sharing it with a friend or family member who might benefit from hearing it too. For more tips on staying active, healthy, and engaged in your senior years, you can visit livingyourseniorlife.com, where you'll find articles, resources, and recommendations designed to support your wellness journey. Thank you for listening and for being part of this community. And as always, until next time, take care of yourself and live your best senior life.